ultimately, they rebuilt the church and they paid off the mortgage.
The Tulsa race riot of 1921 devastates all of Greenwood, but it does not destroy the dreams or spirit of its residents. Though there is little help from outside, the district is reborn as a dynamic African-American community for a while.
Even though Greenwood rebuilt itself and really had another heyday in the 1930s and the 1940s, deep Greenwood, the commercial district, would not last. And there are different reasons for it. One, of course, is desegregation. And once black Tulsans were allowed to shop in other neighborhoods, they often did.
And once that captive market was dispersed into the broader market at large, they couldn't survive. They were not economies of scale that would permit them to achieve what they had when they had, a forced audience.
Then, in the 1960s, urban renewal efforts of the federal government contribute to the community's decline. Many of Greenwood's buildings are destroyed to make way for a new interstate highway that would run right through the middle of the district. Ironically, the government programs would inflict more permanent damage on Greenwood than the riot. For decades, the events of that night in 1921 were rarely, if ever, discussed in Tulsa.
There was what I would describe as a conspiracy of silence after the riot. The leadership here didn't really want to talk about it. And this went on for years and years and years.
I went all through school and never mentioned it. It was never in the history books or anything, and yet it was the biggest riot that we've ever had in America.
There was really a sort of a chilling period in Tulsa history to have such a major event, one of the most important events in the history of the city, be suppressed and something you didn't want to talk about.
Indeed, it seems as though some in Tulsa even tried to physically erase reports of the riot. One such record that no longer exists is an inflammatory editorial from the Tulsa Tribune, which some say helped ignite the riot.
No one can locate a copy of this, but it's an editorial that some of the riot survivors will tell you about that is entitled something to the effect, "To Lynch a Negro Tonight."
The reason we don't have that editorial is that sometime in the 1930s, somebody very carefully cut out that one editorial out of the bound volumes of the Tulsa Tribune. So when those volumes were later microfilmed, there was no copy of it.
But the story of the night Tulsa burned would not be suppressed forever.
If we're going to be able to look forward towards a better future, we have to look all this awful, scarred, depressing past square in the face. We can't be afraid of our history. We have to grapple with it. We have to understand how these things happen so we can prevent them in the future.
After more than 75 years, Tulsa and Oklahoma.
In reality, they have to find out how it happened and start the cover up. Everybody who's involved, all the evidence, all this stuff just disappears. These people are people of words and craftiness. How they get away with a lot of stuff, how they cover themselves using words. People who talk a lot, you have to watch them. They're very crafty. And that's why there's all saying that it is better to hear than to speak, because it's true. Like I said, they cover their tracks with words. They didn't want to find out how it happened to, start over or whatever. The first thing they rebuilt was a church for, we're going to put the conquering symbol back up first, right? Y'all, we have to be our brother's keeper. This is the problem. This is history. It's repeated itself over and over.
He is officially ready to examine the question of what happened and why.
The Tulsa Race Riot of 1921 happened for a number of reasons, and that incident between Dick Rowland and Sarah Page was simply a spark. If that hadn't happened, something else would have happened.
Unlike the rest of Tulsa, African Americans never forgot the riot or the great promise and prosperity of Greenwood. Beginning in the 1970s, residents started planning the Greenwood Cultural Center, built at a cost of more than $3 million.
$3 million built a cultural center instead of paying the families affected their money. He said that back then it was $3 million. So why not give that same $3 million or $6 billion, whatever the guy said, the money that the businesses would have made had they not been being held in internment camps. Let's be clear. They built this cultural center. They always building you monuments to honor those that were there, so to speak. And I'm using my quotation fingers. Honor. There's no honor in these people. They build you monuments so that you can stop, sit, stare at yet another location of your oppression, of your conquering or being conquered, of your invasion. Instead of giving the money to the family, it's going to build us. This is for them, a shrine to show you what happens when you separate yourself and support your own. This is the purpose of this.
Coming from the residents of Greenwood as well as city and state governments, the center was opened in 1989. The center serves as an archive on the history of the riot. But just as importantly, it celebrates the achievements and contributions of Tulsa's African American residents.
It's a good thing. It's a good beginning. It's a good start. We needed the cultural center. We need the cultural center to let us know that Tulsa is growing into a better city after all of these years.
In 1996, the 75th anniversary of American residents.
It's a good thing. It's a good beginning.
This is what he's saying.
Start. We needed the cultural center. We need the cultural center to let us know that Tulsa is growing into a better city after all of these years.
In 1996, the 75th anniversary of the riot was marked with the dedication of a monument to Black Wallstreet on the grounds of the Greenwood Cultural Center. Ceremonies were held at the nearby Mount Zion Baptist Church.
We had a great big celebration here, and there were many speakers, and Benjamin Hoops, the president of the NAACP, came here and spoke. Then we marched from here over to the Cultural Center, lit the flame for the memorial to Black Wallstreet.
Some more marching, lighting up flames. Is this all pagan worship intertwined with the mourning of our ancestors? Marching, I'm beginning to wonder if marching doesn't hold a significant meaning in a lot of this stuff that goes on. Protesting, marching. Maybe somebody should dig into that.
With these initial steps, Tulsa had begun to come to terms with the travesty of the race riot.
We can't change our history, no matter how negative it is. What we can do is take our history and learn from it and grow into the future.
Maybe if we talk about it enough, it'll never be again.
A decades-long effort to suppress the facts of the night that Tulsa burned nearly succeeded. But the survivors of that horrific event would not let this story be lost to history. The devastation of a vital community by a racist mob is not an easy past to confront, but one we must face if we are truly to go in search of history.
Okay. So, I'm sorry for smacking. That was my drop on that. The illusion of seclusion. I had no idea why something was telling me to watch that. I have no idea why I come to the conclusion that the Trail of Tears just maybe so happened. And this is the chart. Starbucks in 2011, all the way up until 2015, 16.5 billion. Beginning of the year, 19.2. This is us. Guys, ladies, I like the cheese danishes. I do. We gotta stop putting our money into this. These are the same people. I'm not gonna dig into the Starbucks and who owns it. Somebody else can do that. What was on my mind was Tulsa. I also wanted to finish that conversation. I was gonna go back to the comment section. But just like my brothers make videos and show me, I want to make a video and show them. Peace and love to you, brothers. Thank you for continuing to bring the truth. Peace and love to you, ladies. Thank you for continuing to bring the truth. We have to get rid of the illusion of seclusion on every level. This is not just on one thing. It has to go across the board. Okay, y'all. I'm trying to find. It was something else I wanted to show y'all. Let's look at these maps one more time. Oh, my sinuses. Y'all have no idea. No idea. Pictures. Can I open something? Okay. My pictures. Okay. I'll try and find it, y'all. Okay. Gonna open this one. We're gonna look at it. See, this is what they did. They forced you out of your homes. And we know they're leaving off all these areas along the coast. They forced you into Oklahoma, right? Then, what did they do? Raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay. Once you recover, it doesn't want us to see. Once you recover, 91 years later, I'm gonna get how many y'all. That's a big enough picture. They burned it to the ground. That lady said there was not a building standing. They poured glycerin, a bomb, some kind of liquid gas on top of your neighborhoods from high to make sure that you wouldn't be successful there again. Sad, man. Peace and blessings, y'all. It's Monday.